Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to returning guest Rebecca Sayce about Evil Dead Rise. Rebecca is a freelance journalist with bylines at Fangoria, Dread Central, Rue Morgue, and Filmhounds, where she is also the deputy editor. She also has essays on releases from Second Sight Films and Vinegar Syndrome. Welcome back to the show, Rebecca. I keep
No, thank
tripping
you for
over my
having me.
I keep tripping over my words today.
No, not a problem. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to get into talking about this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, as we are recording this, it is today is May 5th, and they just dropped the Evil Dead Burn trailer, which you hipped me to because I hadn't been online yet much, and so uh, I was excited to watch that, and now that's intense. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I'm not normally one that watches trailers if I can avoid them, because I'm not at work today. I'm not doing any news, so I could have
Yeah,
avoided it. But I love the Evil Dead films so much. I had to,
me
and
too.
yeah, it hooked
Yeah,
me in. I look some of the deaths in it already that you see are just things
yeah,
that really get me, or things that I'm already scared of. So I know I'm gonna like this. And I loved his like infested that he did last as well. Like that
yeah.
really creeped me out. So I've got very, very high hopes with that.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Infested, but I have arachnophobia, so I can't watch that movie.
Oh yeah,
So
don't.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have arachnophobia and it freaked me
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, no, I just yeah, no, I just bugs in general are kind of one of those things for me, but spiders especially. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was just not like I was like, okay, I'm gonna trust he made a good movie because everybody says it's really good. But yeah, I'm not gonna watch that one. So but yeah, I'm excited for Evil Dead Burn though. So, but yeah, let's jump into Evil Dead Rise, which kind of kicks off this whole new renaissance for the Evil Dead films. Um, on the heels of Evil Dead 2013, there was supposed to be a bunch of stuff that came out after that. Like there was supposed to be an Evil Dead 2 to that, like a sequel to that with Mia. There was supposed to be an Army of Darkness sequel that was supposed to be with Ash, and a lot of that got scrapped. I'm not sure what happened, but they transitioned a lot of that into um, Ash versus Evil Dead. At least the Bruce Campbell Ash stuff. They transitioned all those um, ideas over to there. So a lot of so we haven't really gotten anything with Mia since then. But then, you know, when word came out that they were going to be doing Evil Dead Rise, like that was exciting because we were finally getting a new talent in Lee Cronin, and who'd only done one movie before this, and um, and just new Evil Deads, and it was kind of like, okay, so now we're finally starting to get kind of into the promise of like all this new material, all this new Evil Dead stuff. And then since Evil Dead Rise came out, we got Evil Dead Burn coming, just in the, by the time this episode comes out, I believe it'll already be out. Yeah. By the time you hear this episode, Evil Dead Burn's already been out. But yeah, it's just um and then Evil Dead Wrath comes out, I think, next year or the year after.
Yes, yeah.
Um it's pretty quickly happening now, which is great. And I think there's even rumors that there's going to be something even after Evil Dead Wrath already, but there's nothing confirmed on that one yet. But but with Evil Dead Rise, like I said, this was Lee Cronin's second movie. They tapped him to do this. Raimi and Campbell and Tappert, who still shepherd all of this. They're still the producers behind it all, which I love the fact that they are still basically controlling the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not studios. I'm sure the studios are like, yeah, keep making Evil Dead movies now because they're actually doing well, especially after Evil Dead Rise. Um, but um, but I love that they're the ones who are kind of in control and they're choosing the specific filmmakers that they're choosing for these movies. And with Lee Cronin, he'd done The Hole in the Ground previous to this, and I just recently watched that, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
it wasn't super great. I liked that he kind of went into kind of like, folklore with the changelings and everything like that in there. It was interesting for that, but it didn't really show to me what he was going to end up doing in Evil Dead Rise. And because I think Evil Dead Rise is so fantastic, compared to The Hole in the Ground, that it just it's just amazing to just see that, and then to see his new movie, The Mummy, and The Mummy is more in line with what Evil Dead Rise was. So he's definitely kind of growing and kind of getting a style of his own in that way. And I think it all starts right here with Evil Dead Rise. So I just really love this stuff. What give me your kind of like broad thoughts on Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, so I was very similar. Like when Evil Dead 2013 came out, that was my favorite Evil Dead film of all time. It still is, I think, because I've always loved the Evil Dead films. I watched them far too young, but then when that came out, it just blew me away. And then, yeah, like you say, there were so many announcements afterwards, like animated series. And then we've got Ash versus Evil Dead, which I loved as well. So then when this was announced and it had Lee Cronin attached, and again, I'd seen like The Hole in the Ground, and I liked it okay, but I was
Yeah.
quite surprised he'd been picked for it. I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do with it, but yeah, it absolutely rocked me. It was one of the first press screenings I went to, like
Oh
since
wow.
like transitioning from like being like a news journalist and regional news journalist into doing more like entertainment. It was one of the first ones I went to. I remember people being so shocked watching it and really gasping, which was so fun. And then yeah, like you say, how the franchise has moved since. I really like the idea that you do have like Raimi and Co. still behind the scenes and really keeping that true like spirit of Evil Dead running through the franchise and really like cherry picking who they think has got like the very essence of the films. But I
Yeah.
really like that we're getting different directors doing it because it means that we're getting slightly different visions and takes on Evil
Yeah.
Dead rather than consistently having the same characters and just the risk of the franchise getting stale, like we've seen with so many. Like you look at like Halloween, Scream, Hellraiser, I think might be one of the ropiest horror franchises we've had. But you look at Evil Dead, and I think it probably is the most consistently good. Like I don't think there's a good
Hmm.
entry at all so far. I mean, fingers crossed, Burn isn't, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so far it's stayed very stable. And I do think a lot of that is really like playing with the source material and letting fresh faces and fresh minds come into it and do what they can with what we've got.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think what they're doing is really interesting because I think that that's what's fun about it is they are giving these directors they everybody from Fede Alvarez and Lee Cronin, and now this new person, I can't remember his name offhand. Um Now I gotta look it up. But they they Sebastian, what is his name? Oh my gosh. Sebastian
I'm glad
Vanacek.
you did this, not me.
Yeah, Sebastian Vanacek. So so they're all getting, he's directing and co-writing it. And so they've all gotten a chance to, like you said, put their own spin on things. I do believe that Sam Raimi and company are still kind of guiding it, kind of going,
Mhm.
fit it in this framework, make sure that it works like this, because I feel like with Evil Dead Rise, we start getting a coalescence of the kind of franchise, because we had the original Raimi trilogy, and then we had the 2013 movie, and now we have this one. And in this one, we're told there's three books. There's three different
Mm.
Necronomicons, and so that then explains the reason why this one looks different than the 2013, and why the 2013 one looked different than the original. And then, so with that, because of that, now we're in this new setup, this way of kind of connecting everything. And which we're hopefully, like, I don't know which book, especially based on what I've seen so far of in the new trailer for Evil Dead Burn. I don't know which book that is. Um, but
No, no, I
it
was wondering that as
it
well.
even looks different. And so I was just like, wait, what does this mean? Like, which book is this now? And so I'm hoping that there's some explanation. Maybe it's one of the previous books. If it is a new book, why, how? But with Evil Dead Rise, though, we get the beginning of the connective tissue, that really bridges every bit of this so that it actually feels like um, it's a continuation more than just an individual random thing that could just be okay, this is just another story that could exist maybe in a different universe or something. No, this is definitely a continuation of the
Yeah.
broader Evil Dead, um which I absolutely love that idea. When they mentioned the three books, I was just like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, where are we going with this? And plus, there's another little connective thing with this too, is that each one of the members of the family that's turned into a deadite is a different deadite. Um, we've got mom, the Ellie, the mom. She's a new version. She's got the silver ringed eyes, and then we've got the daughter. She's got the gold ring eyes from Evil Dead 2013, and then we've got the son who's got the completely white eyes, and that's from the original Sam Raimi trilogy. And so I love that, and I didn't even notice that until rewatching it, and looking at the IMDb trivia, and I was like, oh my god, I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that was going on there. So I love that they are connecting this, love that they're um doing this in such a way that not only can they bring something new to it, but also um kind of just connecting it all and kind of honoring the whole past of it, um with with doing this new stuff. And I can't wait to see Burn. I know this isn't about Burn, but it just, this just feels like Rise um, is part of something new that Burn and Wrath will continue on. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you say, we're not here to talk Burn, but it's hard not to get excited about new Evil Dead films now, especially after Rise. Like, I think it really
yes,
reignited the excitement. Like, I was only saying earlier, talking to like a couple of other like writers about the trailer. I said, like, I really wish we got an Evil Dead film every single year. Like, I
oh
feel the
yeah,
wait between Rise and Burn has been painful because of how good Rise was. And I
yeah,
completely agree with what you're saying about like how they did Easter eggs in this. To me, is how sequels, recalls, remakes, and everything should be done because it's
yes,
little homages without it making it feel like it's just fan service. Like, it's a very fresh original film. It brings a lot of new stuff into Evil Dead, but it does have those little references, like even little things like the chainsaw and stuff in it, and
yeah,
like you say, how the Deadites look, stuff they say, the recording, like Bruce Campbell's in the recording, like
yes,
briefly. It's little things like that that it's like it's fun for fans, but it's not completely overwriting the narrative, and it's not just thumbed in. It's stuff that you could give or take, but it's fun. It's nice.
yeah. No, absolutely. And I think they do a really good job at that. Like there's, the little teeny tiny little Easter eggs they place in this, like calling the pizza place Henrietta's. That's just it's those little teases that are really good. There's also what is it? Like you said, Bruce Campbell's a voice in there. I mean, if you don't really know, you might miss that. But even then, they say that it's possible. Like the fan theory is possible that it's Ash who's gone back in time again
I
and
hope so.
gotten right. Like that'd be awesome. They'll never film it that way. We'll never see it that way because Bruce Campbell's gone on record as saying he'll never play Ash again, like on film. But and especially after recently he announced his cancer diagnosis. So fingers crossed he beats that. But he's well done with being done with Ash, which is
Yeah,
fine. He did Ash for a long time, and especially if nobody's seen Ash versus Evil Dead, you really need to watch that because it's
so
fantastic.
good.
It's so good. It's such a great continuation of Ash's story, and better than you would think for um, just being a TV show because it's just
Mm.
just being a TV show because it was on Stars. It's fantastic. It's they get away with everything on there. So I mean, it is just as gory, if not gorier, than any of the movies. Um, but yeah, this one's really cool because I think that with um this one it's about a family. And not that we haven't had family because Ash had his sister and there was Mia and David in 2013. So it's always kind of related to family and friends and stuff like that. But you've got this very much this mom, her kids, and her sister. And it's I love that it's in a house in an apartment building that feels very much like a cabin in the woods in a lot of ways. There's really
Yeah.
nothing going like it expands it a little bit because they can get outside of the 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 house, but most of it is inside the house, inside the apartment. And so it definitely still has that kind of claustrophobic feel to it, while also still transitioning it into something new. Um, so that part of it I'm was really excited about because we finally get out of the cabin in the woods, even though the movie starts with the cabin in the woods, which is a great beginning. Just you know, launches us right into familiar setting, and everything, but has one of the best title opening sequences of
Oh,
all time.
if not the best, I think. I
Right?
love it
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, that Evil Dead Rise just coming up over the trees is just like, oh man, it's so fantastic. It is very hard to top that for opening sequences. Um for title opening sequences. Um it's let's see. Yeah, no. So I guess it wasn't even a fan theory. Lee Cronin himself suggested that Campbell was playing Ash, um, in that recording. So I think that's awesome. But yeah, like going back to what you said, like what we were talking about before with Lee Cronin, and Hole in the Ground, and then not like when you first, and again, I didn't even see Hole in the Ground until like just like last week, because I was like, well, I'm gonna go see the Mummy, so I want to see what he did before, see if there's like a through line with his thing. And I was really surprised that the Hole in the Ground showed nothing like as to what he was going to be doing in
Yeah.
either Evil Dead Rise or the Mummy. And and I feel like his it's one of those things where I feel like Raimi brings out the best in people, because I think Fede Alvarez had only done short films before that, but he's done really fantastic work since then, in both like in like Don't Breathe and Alien Romulus. um so he's he himself has kind of leaped forward, like, and so much so that he didn't even get to do Evil Dead 2, because he's just like, oh no, I'm gonna go do all this other stuff instead. um so I feel like Lee Cronin, like he was. I'm not saying that Hole in the Ground was terrible at all because it was a good movie. It just it didn't have that feeling that Evil Dead Rise has.
Yeah.
And I feel like he really kind of found his voice in Evil Dead Rise because then you go and watch The Mummy, and you see exactly, not exactly, but you see a lot of similarities between those two movies and
Very
the
much
way he
so.
films things, that you're just like, okay, he's found, or he's still finding his voice, but he's with Evil Dead Rise, he kind of found his voice.
Yeah, with Lee Cronin, I found with these films, it's very much like sometimes with the director, you can say, like say Ari Aster, for example, if you like,
Yeah.
Hereditary, you're pretty sure you're going to like his other films. Whereas with The Hole in the Ground, there is absolutely no guarantee you're going to like Evil Dead Rise and vice versa because they are
Yeah.
so different. But I think it's a real
Yeah.
testament to the fact that he can really work with two different films. I mean, The Mummy didn't work for me at all, but I do think Evil Dead Rise and I really enjoyed The Hole in the Ground as well. I think it's
Yeah.
interesting how you can really like tap into both different like themes. But yeah,
Yeah.
like you say with Evil Dead Rise, like going back to like sort of the setting and how they approach that in it, I think it's really, like you say, it taps into that claustrophobia with the cabin in the woods, but then you also
Yeah.
have that expanse, and I think that's what's so scary about the original ones. It's in the middle of nowhere, and there's
Yeah.
no one to find for help. But what I think was interesting and scary about Evil Dead Rise is the idea that there's quite a lot of people in an apartment block, so there's so many
Mhm.
different ways that the Deadites can get in and get to people. And
Yeah.
I really liked that idea, especially when you have that scene where there are so many of them infected, all shouting "dead by dawn." It's scary because there
Yeah.
really is maybe more of them than we've seen in previous films.
Yeah. I think probably only like the only place we would have seen more of them would be in Ash versus Evil Dead. So
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But at least in film, in the movies and stuff, that's definitely something that we haven't really seen as much because, well, or Army of Darkness, of course. Um, but yeah, it's just it's I do like that. Lee Cronin's kind of like his filmography up till now, he really deals in these. parents and children, these family type situations
Yes,
too. Um, that, because it's about families dealing with like all these external issues, these corruptions. So I think that's an interesting thing. Like there could be some um thought process into, like, some analysis of what he's going into with these, in terms of, you know what like how families deal with outside corruptions. So
absolutely.
there
Yeah.
could be something about that. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily what he's going for. But yeah, somebody could really like write something good about that. I think that would be a fun article to read, or a fun video to watch, about somebody analyzing that kind of material that he's doing with all of these movies. Um,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Rise really spoke to me. I love
yeah,
the idea, like how it taps into like familial trauma and motherhood. Like as a mum myself,
yeah,
and a mum that never expected to be a mum, I really sort of related to Beth and her sort of fear and panic of the idea of becoming a mother, and then seeing her sister Ellie struggling with her children, being a single mom. I mean, I'm a single mom now myself, and
yeah.
watching it again, like I've not watched it since being a single mom,
Oh
and
wow.
seeing how she's sort of parenting like sort of on autopilot. I was like, oh, I get this a lot more now. And then you see the strife between Ellie and Beth as being estranged sisters, not really being there for each other, not being there to sort of comfort each other. I mean, that I can't relate to. Me and my sister are very close, but I've had that with other people that can't really relate to my situation. I can't
Right.
relate to theirs. I think it's interesting to throw that in the middle of deadites then attacking them when they can't speak to
Right.
each other, can't communicate, can't relate. It falls apart very, very fast. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, obviously we have the pregnancy element in it. Like I wrote an essay about this for Night Tide magazine about the fact that it came out right at like the overturn of Roe versus Wade, and it felt very much to me like a pro-choice film, and talking about,
Yeah.
forcing women into pregnancy, forcing them into birth, forcing them into motherhood ends in disaster, and giving
Yeah.
Beth ultimately the right to choose her path through the film, and that's why she survives. I think
Yeah.
it is fascinating, and I also love that it centers mothers and motherhood. Like
Yeah.
we've had Bruce Campbell almost like a male, like cis male protagonist throughout the
Yeah.
whole season, and I love that this focused on like women and motherhood, and it did it so well considering again it's like a male director. I think how it's
Yeah.
done is it's really well. It's really rounded. Like they're fantastic characters.
Yeah. No, and that's something I want to talk about too, because with the 2013 movie, we've seen a shift with each of these movies now, 2013 Rise and Burn. Each one of these now centers a woman as its lead. And so we are definitely getting a transition over to this, which is great. And so far, it seems, and we haven't seen Burn yet, but as of this recording. Um, but because they're centering women, but it's also men who are writing and directing these movies. So it's great because so far they've created women who are tough and strong and nuanced, dealing with their own traumas and issues and everything like that, which is really great, um, for that, because they're doing so far a really good job with that. But I would like to see women come into this as well, being the writers
Absolutely.
and directors, because we just, like, especially with Evil Dead, we haven't gotten that. It's been all male voices so far. So it would be fantastic to get women voices into this, in terms of the writing and directing as well. So I'm hoping that after Wrath, we may see that. Fingers crossed. But at the very least, so far with what we've seen, like you said, has been fantastic. We're getting these female driven storylines that um have a lot of weight and nuance to them that you a lot of other movies, especially horror movies, don't always do. But we are seeing a little bit more of that in horror, so which is really great. But again, I really would like to see more women voices in this, because it's such a
Yeah.
shame that it's just not, especially in something like this, which is a kind of big franchise. So it would be really cool to get some really good, interesting women voices in here.
Yeah, for sure. After seeing the Bone Temple this year, Nia
Yes.
DaCosta,
Oh
I
my
would
God.
love to see do an Evil Dead
I
film.
would
That's
love
my
Nia
pick
DaCosta.
for only
Yeah.
the one.
Yes, yes, I would love to see Nia. I think she like that's the interesting thing because I love Candyman. She did fantastic in
Same.
that. Bone Temple for me is the best of the 28
I
Day
agree.
Years franchise.
Loved it.
It's absolutely my favorite of the whole franchise. And even her the Marvels movie is fantastic to me. I love that movie. And I feel like she's got a unique voice where she can come in and take these franchises that again male dominated, very male dominated. She comes in and puts in these different things. And and puts just enough of a spin on these to make them really well done. Um, and you know, I think she does a really good job. So far, she's 3 for 3 for me on that. I haven't seen her other movie that she did, her first movie yet. But it's um we there was we were talking about I was in a thing on modern horror, Scream. I was part of that, and we were talking about how Nia DaCosta would be a really great voice for the Scream franchise as well.
Oh,
So
for
I
sure.
think I think she would just be so fantastic to just kind of like just put her in any franchise, and I think she would just be fantastic. So I'm hoping we'll hear more of her being in good stuff like this. But yeah, Nia DaCosta would be great for Evil Dead. Um, but like I mean even you know saying somebody like Karen Kusama or Diablo Cody writing or something like that, just getting
Oh,
just
I'd love that.
yeah, just getting like really good fun female voices in this would be fantastic. So um but I hadn't thought about like what you were saying about like the abortion angle on this. That's really um good because when did this movie come out? It was just a couple of years ago, 2013, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2023,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
2023. Because it was I remember because it was 10 years after 2013, which was crazy. 10-year gap between those.
No,
But it
wild.
but it had been 20 years between Army of Darkness and the 2013 movie. So it's like at least they're coming quicker now. So it's only been 3 years since the last one. So and when is Evil Dead Wrath coming out? So now I gotta look that up. Um that's in 2028. So only 2 years till the next one. So they're coming quicker. Hopefully they'll get onto a really good at least 1 to 2 year schedule here. So um but yeah, no, I love this the different dynamics between everybody, this family that's dealing with the dad leaving. Um
Yeah.
there's and it feels like there's a lot there. They're having to move out of this apartment soon because the building's being shut down because it's a piece of shit building. And then having Beth come in because she wants to be there to tell her sister about her being pregnant and dealing with that. Um, and yeah, just this whole dynamic of everything. That's just this tenseness of this family dealing with all of this, and then um, that the earthquake revealing the book and the records is just I don't know. And it's so funny going back to I was just on another podcast talking about this movie. And it was a Final Girls Feast. We were talking about how um that the books always want to be found at the time
Yeah.
that they're found, and they want to be read. There's no way that you can stop from reading them once they are discovered. You always have this the characters always have this compulsion to read. Everybody blames Eric in Evil Dead 2013 for reading from the book and unleashing everything, but he had no choice. Once the book was there, he was compelled to open it and read it, and there was like no way to stop it at that point. And I feel like it's very much the same way, which is why those records were put there, like those records were also uncovered because this the son was into records and all that, so of course he would have to play them, and open
Yeah.
the book and discover all this. So I love that idea that um, that no matter what, these books, these records, the tape, from the beginning that kind of opened up everything, just these things will be read, will be unleashed because they just it's that time to do it. um and I love that idea that you can't stop these. So
And I think
uh,
it's what's so effective about Evil Dead as a franchise. Like from the minute it starts, you know it's going to be carnage, and it's that ticking time bomb because they all are. Like it's one of
yeah.
those films that most other franchises, if they do the same thing every single time, people complain. But with Evil Dead, it is that chaos that draws everyone in because as soon as it kicks off, you're going to get bloody, gory deaths and
Mhm.
absolutely awful violence, horrible things being said, and it's what drives horror fans to the cinemas. It's what makes us go and seek these films out. Most of us from an early age when we started watching horror are always chasing the next awful thing. And that's what Evil Dead represents to most people, I would say. And I think it's that inevitability that works so well with Evil Dead. And it's that ticking time bomb of, well, how is it going to be discovered? Because we all know they're going to, and we all know they're going
Yeah.
to be read, and we all know that most of the cast is going to die. So you don't get attached to anyone. And it's just that asking, how are they going to be found? How are they going to discover it? Who's going to die and how? And I really, really like that. And I think what really ups the ante in this one is that it's kids. Like it's
Yes.
2 adults and 3 kids, and one of them's very young, and you know that they're
Yeah.
going to go. It's not just going to be the mom that goes. They're
Yeah.
going to go. There's the kids in the hall too, so it's a lot of kids.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this one definitely changes up the formula in a lot of ways that, up until this point, because I mean, 2013 was a very much it was billed as a remake. A lot of people even still see it as a remake, even though it is completely not a remake. It is just a continuation of the story. It's that's like you said, there's something about these, like with these, it's not about there's never like there's not it's not a slasher movie, so there's never a slasher to kill or anything like that. It is a corruption of the people that are there, and just seeing who's going to survive, who isn't. It's usually just one person that survives. This time we got two. And then but and this time it is more evil because it wrecks this family. And it could have just they could have done something where most of the family survives, and it was like all the other people in the apartment complex got, you know um uh 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 corrupted instead. But they didn't. They went full fucking ballsy on this one and said, we're going to take out the mom first, and then she's just going to come in for her kids. And it's just going back to what you said too about like this mom, this single mom who's on autopilot and everything, that it goes it goes to something like, when you watch this movie, it is so messed up that this mom who's struggling, trying to take care of her kids, trying to do what she can, they have to move out in a month. They don't know what they're doing. She's just trying to do what she can. And she's the first one taken out. She's trying to be there for her kids. She's not a bad mom. You don't see her like in anything.
No, not at
She's
all.
struggling, but she's being a good mom. They like, sure, she's got teenage kids that she's, butting heads with and everything like that. But what parent doesn't? Good, in good times and bad, you still struggle with your kids. Um, but just watching her come in corrupted and start saying some of the most heinous shit to her kids is just like, oh my God. Like it is, it is, it is fantastic how like evil these deadites are. And that's what I love about the deadites too, is that when they take over these people, the person is pretty much gone. Like it's rare for somebody to come back from being infected by a deadite. um and so once that deadite gets in, um they are some of the most manipulative fucking people ever, because they'll switch back and forth between like, being so super evil and then being like, oh no, no, help me, and trying to be all nice and good just to lure their victims in. And I love that about that. You know, you see that in a lot of demonic possession stories and everything like that. But there's something about what the Evil Dead movies do that I think has always hit me harder. Like I don't know, like the demon possession movies like Exorcist or other things like that. I don't know, those never hit me as hard as the Evil Dead movies do. The Evil Dead ones just like I don't know, they're just so good at doing that that I feel like um they do it better than most anything else. And especially because there is no religious aspect to these demons.
Yeah.
They're just an otherworldly entity. And so there's no casting them out with religion or anything like that. And even like in this movie, you find out that there are these priests who are trying to fight against that in these records that the son plays, and that nothing works because these can't be stopped by any means. And I think that's what's really fantastic about the Deadites.
Yeah, it is that inevitability, and I think it's the fact that they're just evil for the sake of evil. Like you see
Yeah,
it quite a lot in possession films where it's a demon and it's either cursed to do what it did, or it's to do with its death, or a punishment, or it's something that there is a reason to it. Whether obviously most people aren't going to agree with the reason to it. You're not going to
right.
agree with, oh yeah, the demon did nothing wrong, it's fine, they can do that. But with the Deadites, they're evil for evil's sake. Like you don't really go too much into the lore or backstory of why
Yeah,
they are what they are, where they're from, why they're created. It's just they're a fact of life in this universe,
yeah,
and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And I do think that inevitability and that evil, because I always think it whenever, like, with real life crimes, for example, if there's someone who's committed a murder or done something truly heinous and you never find out why, and it's just because they can, that is
right.
so much scarier than there being a reason, no matter what that reason is. And I do think that is what is so frightening in Evil Dead. They are evil because they can. They do what they
Yeah,
can and wreck because they can. It's not for
yeah,
survival. It's not to try and find a host body. It's not to,
yeah,
it's not for any reason other than evil. And
yeah,
that's frightening. Like, no matter whether people are religious or not and scared of like evil or like consequence or, anything like that,
yeah,
I think it's something that taps into like the primal fear of anyone that watches these films.
yeah. No, I
And
agree
I
with
think
you.
sometimes the fact that they're funny, I think also makes it so much more sinister. Like you'll laugh at what they're saying, but it's horrible. Like it's like
Yeah,
comic relief, and then they do something truly evil afterwards. Like Ellie, some of the stuff she says in this, like when she calls the kids titty sucking parasites, it's you laugh, but it is
but it's
horrible because then she pretty much
horrible. Yeah,
immediately calls the daughter afterwards. It's
yeah,
just awful.
yeah. No, she says some of the worst things to her kids after she's become a deadite. It's just, it's so bad, and it's like she's got one of the best lines too, like in the sequence when she's in the bath. And she's like, mommy's with the maggots now. And I'm just like, and she says it so well too. And like the line delivery is so perfect. And it's just like it's I love that it's become like the most famous line from the movie, because it's just like so messed up, um, and to hear coming from their mother's voice, so it's just some of the things like and it was something that was brought up that I want to bring up here too, is like when she comes in after she's been taken over, that she comes in and she starts cooking these eggs, you know which is a sign of motherhood, and so she's these unfertilized eggs. And so but they're also bleeding too. There's like blood coming from them. So there's this like again going into kind of the abortion angle that you were talking about too. Like she's literally like cooking them up, these like aborted like eggs. And so it's just there's so many angles to this, that with about motherhood um uh and again, like coming from somebody like Lee Cronin, it's interesting that he's got such a good voice for this motherhood angle. um and so um I just I don't know. It's fantastic for what this movie is, and what he's doing in this. Um, and I and hopefully he was getting a lot of feedback from the women on set and stuff like that about and it was more collaborative in that way, because it definitely feels like he's got um and from what I've heard, it was a fantastic set to be on. Both of the lead actresses sing his praises. So
Yeah, I interviewed Alyssa Sutherland for this,
yeah.
like for Metro, and speaking to her about making it, I always find it so funny that like the most gory, disturbing films always sound like the most fun to make.
Oh
But
yeah.
she said like it was a wonderful, wonderful film to make. But she'd spoken about like being a model and feeling very like objectified and like turned into a piece of meat over the years, and
Mm,
then doing this role was very transformative and very much like reclaiming herself
that's
because of
awesome.
everything she got to do and say. Like talking about the bath scene, I remember speaking to her about that. She practiced for a while the movement getting out of that bath. And for such a short sequence, she probably didn't need to put as much work into it,
Yeah.
but I love that she did because it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Like the fact there's so much work and love and care into the tiniest details went into Rise, I think really, really shows. And again, I think, like you say, it's a testament to how Cronin treated his actors, and again how the actors respected Cronin to work with him. And it really, really shows. And I think that does come across in how the themes are handled as well. I would imagine that it was very collaborative. And again, from that interview, I gather that there was a lot of talk about how the characters would do certain things and how they would react. But I think that's how these like subjects can come across
Yeah.
sensitively and rounded because there's a risk that they won't, given the violence and given what Evil Dead films are. They are funny, they're violent, they're gory. There is a risk that themes like this, like motherhood, familial trauma, urban decay, when we look at like the building and the amount of people
Yeah.
trapped in there in a shitty, dilapidated building, probably I mean, we don't know what they're paying, but probably paying a ton in rent and then getting
Yeah.
chucked out. It's awful. These are horrible prevalent themes, and there's a risk that they really could have seemed distasteful in that sort of film.
Right.
But I do think that collaboration, how people are treated and respected on set, then bleeds through to the performances.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Um, this is something like related that I want to get into too, because there is a when Ellie gets taken over in the elevator, it's very similar to the scenes of Mia and the woman I can't remember her name in the first movie getting taken over with the vines. And but this is the first time that we get it where there's not an assault, like a
Yes.
sexual assault, which I thought was fantastic because it was just like, okay, we didn't need that. Like I was surprised it was in the 2013. Every time I watch the 2013, I forget about it, and I'm like,
Same,
and
yeah.
then it happens, and I'm like, oh, why did we do that again? Because it's terrible in the original, and it shouldn't be in the 2013. But 2013 still has a um hangover from the millennial nasties of the early 2000s. So I feel like 2013 is kind of this transitory movie um, between the millennial nasties and then what we start getting later on, kind of with grief horror and stuff like that. It's kind of like this movie that kind of bridges that gap. Um, but this movie, like I really appreciated that they didn't go for that um, in this one. That when they did that, that they evoked that with all the cables wrapping around her and everything like that, but didn't go for the actual assault. So I was like, okay, thank God we're finally past this. Hopefully they don't do this
Yeah,
again.
for sure.
And I love that her tattoos had the vines as well, so that it was evocative of that as well. So, you know, there's a lot of those little touches that we were talking about earlier, these little tweaks here and there. Like you said, the people saying "Dead by Dawn." There's a sequence where she bites out the guy's eye and spits it into the mouth of the other person,
I love
which is
that.
very much like Evil Dead 2, the Evil Dead 2 eye gag. So there's all these little things that like that, and this one where 2013 was super intense and had like no humor at all. um this one had little touches of humor, and those moments where you could kind of like uncomfortably laugh. There was a lot of more
Yeah.
uncomfortable laughter in this one that wasn't as slapsticky as the Raimi movies. But I liked that there was a little bit more humor in this one. And that they kind of touched on it a little bit without being too like um too silly with it, because I don't want, like, if people are coming in, I don't want people to ape the Raimi movies. He's got a distinctive style and tone of his own that I think is just his. I think people doing it this way, where we're getting it with Rise, and it looks like with Burn, we're going to get some humor in Burn too. It looks like, and so I like that. I like that, these people are bringing in their own sensibilities and stuff like that, and playing in the Evil Dead arena, and maybe peppering stuff into their stuff without being um, too silly and too jokey. Um, and that's the thing with 2013. I love 2013, even though there is no humor in it. It's just super intense for what it is. Um, and I like that Rise seems to kind of balance that by being super
Yeah.
intense, but just with like that little bit of humor just to kind of bring you down just a little bit. So, um, but yeah, no, I really love what they're doing in this. I love the performances, Alyssa Sutherland and oh, I can't remember her name. I'm always forgetting people's name. Um, the one who plays Beth. Um,
Lily Sullivan. I was thinking that I'm sure it's not Lily Sullivan because I'm thinking I'm confusing Sutherland with Sullivan. But no, Lily
yeah,
Sullivan.
Lily Sullivan. Yeah, yeah, Sullivan and Alyssa Sutherland. Yeah, two very same sounding last names. Um, but both of them so good in this movie. Lily Sullivan does great as Beth. Um, she's struggling with her own pregnancy through this, and deciding on whether or not she's going to be a mom or not. And like you said, it's just this very comes off very pro-choice in this too, because she chooses to you know have the baby. And I mean, she's got to take care of the youngest daughter now too, in the aftermath of her whole family being destroyed. um and it's one of those things that always is funny too, and it finally got addressed in sort of in the Ready or Not uh sequel. Like, there's always the aftermath of these movies, which never really gets addressed. I always think is funny. It's you how does Lily explain what happened to everything? It's like, how do you explain that? Like, nobody's going to believe you. Like, it's the same, like you kind of see that in the Ash versus Evil Dead show too, is that everybody in
Yeah.
Ash's hometown thinks that he killed his sister and the other people that were in the cabin after the first Evil Dead. So it's it's this weird thing that that movies don't, like, even sequels don't acknowledge about the aftermath of stuff like this. So I think it's Ready or Not 2 did that really good. Recently they kind of went into it. So I think it's just a fun thing to acknowledge in this. It's just like, how do they deal with this afterward? um but but just the characters, I love the kids in this as well. um
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know and everybody talks about the two women, but the kids are really well done as well. And especially after they're taken over. um it's just,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, just everybody's really good in this. I love that the kids do get taken over, that this whole family gets corrupted like this. It's something that like we said, you don't really expect, but it's just very evil. And very rough for that whole family, especially the youngest daughter, to have to deal with. Because obviously, I mean, this is the funny thing about this movie too, is that you see that this family is close, that they might have their little uh, uh issues with each other here and there, but the kids all love each other. They're all like, there's a moment where they're all like, playing with each other for a brief moment. And they all seem to really love each other. And to see this family just get taken over and destroyed like this because of
It's
these
so
Deadites,
sad.
it's so sad when you think about it. You're loving the movie, you're loving all the crazy shit in it, but then when you think about it, you're just like, that's really fucked up. And I really love that the movie goes there, that this movie does not, and that again is what makes the Evil Dead so fantastic in a lot of ways, is because it doesn't it doesn't shy away from the hard stuff like that. It just is going to be like, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do it hard, and you're going to enjoy it. So
Yeah. Well, no one's safe, are they, in an Evil Dead film? And I think that's
Yeah,
what's so important. That's what keeps that fear alive. Like you can watch a lot of fairly like generic slashers and even like with a lot of like grief horror films and things like that, or like well, pretty much any genre horror. You can watch them and sort of know who's going to survive and sort of think, especially based on like who releases them or the age or whatever, that the kids are going to be safe. But I mean, I'm going to sound horrible after saying, I'm a mom and I love my kids dearly, but I am always pro kill the kids in a horror film because it goes like I want to see something
yeah,
shocking. I don't want to watch the same thing constantly and know that things are safe. I want horror films to be dangerous, and that's what I think. I think we've got such an appetite for that now, and that's why we're getting more Evil Dead films because I
yeah,
mean, we're seeing worse on the news day in, day out. So you've got to really up the ante in a horror film to
yeah,
keep them scary and keep people thinking, this is, it almost feels unsafe to watch. And you don't get that very often with films anymore where it feels like you're watching something you shouldn't be. And I definitely got that with 2013 because of its like relentless nature and like
yeah,
the bleakness of it, like with the addiction storyline and how like nihilistic the whole film is. I got that. But I definitely see that with Rise as well, even with its humour, how it like attacks the family unit and children's innocence and people who are just everyday people just trying to get by when everything's, expensive and tough, whether it's in America or whether it's here in the UK. Life's hard and they're just banding together and no one cares and they're forgotten about in their little building and everyone dies. And
yeah,
I think that is as dark as what we saw in 2013, even though it's funnier and even though maybe the deaths I think are a little bit more slapstick
yeah.
than what we see in 2013. I think it's still as dark and still as
Oh,
dangerous.
yeah,
And I really do hope we get the same with Burn and Wrath.
yeah. Well, and I think that's what's interesting too is that when you get these movies as well, like I think I think 2013 is the only one that feels like it ends with like them stopping the Deadites. Like
Yeah.
all the Raimi movies, the Deadites don't go away, and this one, the Deadite doesn't go away either. Like it just transferred over to the other girl that was at the very beginning of the movie that we saw. Because that's what's fun about this movie too is like that opening sequence where it's the cabin in the woods and stuff like that is literally the day after the events of everything else we see through the rest of the movie, and it ends with that girl getting infected by the Deadite on her way to the cabin in the woods. So I think that's what's interesting, and that's what's very interesting about the Deadites themselves too is there's no stopping them. Like once they're unleashed, there's no stopping them ever. Like at least it feels like that, in most of these movies, it's just like they may go away briefly, but they'll be back.
Yeah.
And especially because these books always want to be read, they always want to like even if you can banish them for a little bit of time, they'll always come back. Um, and that's there's just this inevitability about them as well that just makes them it just makes these movies just so unrelenting and that like even if you destroy this and like you even find out in the course of these movies as well too is that the only way to kill these deadites is by burning them or dismembering the bodies or anything. You have to kill your whoever these people are inhabiting, and usually it's your family or your friends. So you have to kill
Yeah.
these to stop these deadites from killing everybody else. So, and that's the only way to do it is to literally dismember or burn um, the bodies. And so I think there's just it's just that's what makes these movies fun in themselves is just there's this unrelenting like just nobody's going to get out of it alive. Sure, you're like the hero of the story will probably make it out, but it's everybody else is going to go, and they're going to make
Yeah.
you. They're gonna mess you up before you win. So, and I think
Oh,
that's
definitely.
yeah, I think that's what's
And I
great
think
about these movies. Go ahead.
I think sometimes it's also in the simplicity of how they do it. Like one thing I love about 2013, I love it in this, and we see it in the trailer for Burn as well, is how it focuses on what's going to be used or what might be used to hurt people, what might not. And it's often very little things. Like you do have the big deaths in this. Like you have the is it like a wood chipper at the end that they go
Yes.
into?
Yeah.
I can never think what that machine is, but like there's the big deaths and big violent
Yeah.
scenes. But then you have it in this, like the cheese grater, the
Yeah.
tattoo machine, the swallowing glass. Like it's
Oh,
little things like that, the pole through the mouth. And then we see it in the trailer for Burn, like a headrest through someone's head, someone falling onto knives in a dishwasher, which I am always terrified of, in
yeah.
dishwashers, on draining boards, accidentally going into like a knife or something.
Yeah.
Horrid, but it's little things like that that I think it works, because it's similar to Final Destination, isn't it? It's making people
Yeah.
scared of the everyday. But while
Yeah.
the demons in this, the Deadites, obviously aren't the everyday, it's how they use common household objects and common things that you
Yes.
will find to fuck you up that I think works
Yeah.
so well. So they don't have to. They could have supernatural powers. They could do things in any number of ways, but
Yeah.
they don't, and I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like the electric knife in 2013, and just the
Oh,
yeah, just like
oh.
just so many like so many instances of them just using like the household items or the things around wherever you're at, and um yeah, no, it's just and I think that's what makes Burn interesting too from the trailer, is because again, it's a family. So you're
Yeah,
dealing
family
with,
reunion, isn't it? I
yeah,
think.
yeah, well, it's the aftermath of, so the woman with the red hair, and that her husband dies, and so she's going to her in-laws house, and that's where
Okay.
it's all happening at, is at the in-laws house. um and so um but yeah, I'm not sure. What goes on. It sounds like from the trailer, and again, the movie will be out by the time anybody's hearing this episode, so we'll all know what's happened already. But it sounds like somebody reads from the Necronomicon to bring back the husband, to bring back their child.
Interesting.
So I don't know. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens, because um it's gonna be good, and I love that it feels like it's a continuation of Rise in a way, that, and I think Wrath is going to be a continuation of that. I feel like this is almost an unofficial trilogy of sorts, um,
Yeah.
that kicks off with Rise. um, but yeah, I don't know. This movie is just so good. I love all the little bits of it, both the horror, the gore, the humor. I love the family dynamics. I love that there's the other people in the on the floor of their apartment and stuff like that get pulled into this. Um, just the performances by Alyssa Sutherland and Lily Sullivan are like so good. Especially Alyssa Sutherland as the Deadite. When she gets taken over, she's just so good. Um, it's just, I don't know. This movie's a lot of fun. It's definitely high up there for me. Like the Evil Dead franchise in general, just everything's like, you know, every movie's been fantastic. But definitely, I love getting to see these continue to um, keep going with this, and I can't wait to see Burn once it comes out.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. The performance in this, I think, is really what makes this work. Especially the children, like you say. Like a lot of
Yeah,
times when we see kids in films, especially when they're relative newcomers,
yeah,
they're not great. Like, they're not great. Whereas the kids in this, they're believable and they're good. Like their relationship with their mum, with their aunt, with each other, it's
yeah,
very believable, and it means that you do care about them. So when the inevitable happens, and I mean, they all go down pretty quickly. Like everything that happens in the family is
yeah.
quite quick in the film, but it still feels as impactful. It doesn't feel like anyone's like a throwaway character,
No,
even when like we spend more time with Bridget and her sort of disintegration as we do with Danny, but it still feels like both are as awful as each other.
yeah,
And I really like that. Really, really like that. Like we say, I love that the violence is so unrelenting and awful because it's towards children and a mum who loves her kids. And it's that,
yeah,
like when she gets taken over in the elevator and she says, like, it's like, please don't take my babies or please don't take my children. It's,
yeah,
oh, it's horrible. It's so
yeah,
sad because you know they're not going to
yeah.
survive. I mean, I was
No.
surprised Cassie survived it. I did think the little one was going to go.
Oh man.
I was glad she didn't because normally, like I say, I'm very like pro fuck them kids, but I really didn't want that kid to get hurt. She was so sweet.
That's too funny.
But
No, I
it's that
agree.
ability to make people care that I think
Yeah,
is so good in Evil Dead. Like we say, then it's the same formula. We all know what's going to happen,
yeah,
and you're not really driven to get attached. I don't think in like the earlier ones, like you don't. You're there to eat your popcorn and watch people get killed.
yeah,
Whereas in this, and I do think in 2013 more so as well, you learn a bit more about the characters than you ever
yeah,
have done in like the OG Evil Dead film. So you do care more, and I think that's what makes the violence and what happens more impactful. And I think it's what has drawn a whole new audience into these films that may have sort of written off Evil Dead as just like, oh, gore for the sake of gore, which I don't agree with, but I can see why they're written
absolutely.
off
Yeah,
like that. I think this is what has made the franchise a bit more accessible to people, and then go back and watch the older films and appreciate them for what they were, which is the same as what these are, but in a
yeah,
different packaging.
yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. I think 2013 and Rise are doing something that, like you said, that the original Evil Dead don't do, because you don't really get to live with the characters. You don't really get to know the characters as much in the first trilogy as much. You get to know Ash to a degree, but even then, it's more about the circumstances more than about the characters. And
Yeah.
then with 2013 and Rise, you really get to know these characters. And I think it's just a difference in storytelling, how stories are told now too. We're getting a lot more nuance, a lot more depth with characters. Um, and but yeah, it would have been great to see Cassie get taken over too, just to see a little kid just like like be that deadite and just
Yeah.
watch them be even more evil. Like if she had gotten taken over first, that would have been really interesting. I feel like that could have been really good. Just toying with her family
Yeah, for
would have been
sure.
really fantastic. And I think Nell Fisher as Cassie does such a great job in this too, especially for I believe it's like um, I think in the movie it says introducing Nell Fisher, um, but and I'm not sure if she had any movies before then. No, she had had one. She had been in one movie, but I don't think she had been as prominent. Maybe. Um, but but I mean, obviously she did so well in this that she ended up being in Stranger Things season 5 and wholly taking over
Yeah.
the character
Mad.
of the younger sister in that. So so that was great to see her be able to um be in the newest Stranger Things, because that was fantastic. She did a great job in that as well. Um but yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's just everybody's doing such a good job in this movie. It's just fantastic. I would love to see um I'm excited to see more. I'm excited more in this world. I would love again, I would really love to see some of these characters like Mia and like Beth kind of continue into some of these as well, kind of
Yeah.
continuing their stories in a way. Maybe they come to help save some of these people or something like that, or maybe after this trilogy or something like that, we get kind of like a combined story of some way, some shape of them trying to
Yeah.
help fight the Deadites in some way, shape, or form. That would be fantastic, because I mean that was something that they kind of wanted to do with Mia and Ash in the aftermath of the 2013 movie. Was they wanted to build to a combined movie with them as well. So I'd love to see them kind of continue, like think of that idea and to kind of combine that, because it's something I think the Chucky series did really well, by
Yeah,
bringing back
definitely.
Alec Vincent and what's her name? Um, I can't think of her name right now, but the sister from Child's Play 2. So I think that's would be fantastic to see in the Evil Dead series, this kind of continuation with some of these characters popping in again. I know we'll never get Ash again, but maybe Mia, maybe the characters, the other characters from MASH versus Evil Dead would be fantastic. Something like that would be really cool to
Yeah.
see some of these characters pop in and out. Um, but
I love the idea if we never get a 2 or an Army of Darkness remake of just going back in time anyway. Or
yeah.
even like you said, the inevitability of it. I've always wondered why we've never had like an apocalyptic Evil Dead, which is what I
Mm.
wonder if Wrath is because of like the
Oh,
name of it. I
yeah.
love the idea of it being like the world has fallen to these
Mm.
things and
Yeah.
it's a new take on maybe like a zombie or infection film. I always wondered why we've never had that. But I
Yeah.
really want us to go back in time again. We'll go back to, I don't know, we don't ever have Tudor horror or caveman horror. Let's do
Yeah,
that with Evil
yeah.
Dead. I love the idea of us going back in time again or going to
Or
some
like
alternate sort of universe or
or like a
space.
or Western, that could be really good too.
Yeah,
Like
because you
Deadites
really
in the
can
Old
take Evil
West.
Dead anywhere,
Yeah,
can't you? Like, there's so little that we really
yeah,
know about the
yeah,
Deadites and what's going on. You really can just put it anywhere in different countries,
yeah,
times, different types of films. Like, I mean,
yeah.
we had horror rom-com Heart Eyes, the idea of an Evil Dead rom-com. It'd be brilliant. Like, there's so much you can do with it.
There is, yeah,
That's again is why I love that we have different directors and actors, and
yeah,
I love that it isn't just all Ash stories and all
yeah,
like characters coming back. I do love the idea of having them come back because I do feel like I like the franchise so much and it's been so strong. It's
yeah,
not something that would bother me. Like it definitely did bother me with like the latest Scream because it felt cheap. But in
yeah,
this, I
yeah,
feel like it's sort of a bit more earned. But I do also love that we're always getting fresh stories and ideas in it
yeah,
because it really means you can be experimental with it and have some fun.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what Evil Dead is, isn't it? It's fun. Like we've said how like grim and gross and nasty it can be, but ultimately they're very fun. They must be incredibly fun to make.
Oh yeah, I would think so. I mean, I can't imagine that these movies are very boring to make at all. Like horror, just in general, always just seems like a fun franchise to play in, and then especially something like the Evil Dead franchise on top of that just seems like such a fun franchise to play in, especially just because the original trilogy was so good and fun, and Sam Raimi is still involved in all of these.
I was supposed to
So
say, yeah, you're getting to work with
yeah,
Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
right,
That's a dream. That must be amazing.
absolutely. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you did want to talk about before we wrap up?
I don't think so. No, I just
Okay.
think it's just such a strong film. Like you said,
Yeah.
I really struggle to think of things that I don't like about this. I have to get
Yeah.
really nitpicky to think like maybe sometimes the pacing I think could be a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
different. Maybe it's a little long, but really, like every time I rewatch it, and I do go back to the Evil Dead franchise a lot, and I've rewatched Rise a lot. And there's just something I like every single time. I feel like there's something I notice every single time. There's different things to pick out of it. And I think that's the sign of like a really well thought out, enjoyable horror film. It's got rewatch value.
Yeah.
And it
No.
really does.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um. Yeah. No. It's fantastic. For anybody who doesn't know, there is a Arrow 4K out now. I don't know if it's available in the UK. Do you know if it's um
I'm not sure. I
okay,
don't, I'm not 100% on that.
let's see. Um let's see. They it's available in the United States. It's a fantastic disc. It comes with because the original 4K release didn't come with any special features. Then there was a Best Buy exclusive version that came with a commentary, and the original UK release only came with like a commentary and a short film by Lee Cronin. And then this one comes with all of that. Um, Comes with the um, oh no, it does not look like it's available in the UK, not through Arrow anyway. Um, that's disappointing. Um, but 4K is inherently region free. So if you want it, buy it from the Arrow US store. Um, but yeah, they have or buy it through one of the other places because I don't know if they'll ship from the US store to the UK. But yeah, it's got lots of new interviews and stuff with a bunch of people that were involved in it, including I think both Alyssa Sutherland and Lily Sullivan. So definitely worth checking out. I got it. It's fantastic. It's great to have it in a nice set with a bunch of special features, which it did not
Yeah.
have in its initial release, which was disappointing. So, um, so yeah, no, check that out. It's great. Um, well, thank you for coming on and talking this movie with me. I very much appreciate it. Why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Yep, so you can find me at Becky L. Sayce on Instagram and BL Sayce Writes on Blue Sky. And anyone who still uses X, you can find all of my work over at Filmhounds. We've just had our latest edition come out and we're taking pictures for the upcoming edition, which is coming June or July, I believe. So any interviews, review ideas, feature ideas, get in touch. You can find my writing over at Metro, Digital Spy, Fangoria, and I've got a couple of physical releases coming out. So if you keep an eye on social media, I can share more about them then.
All right, great. All right. Well, thank you again. This was a lot of fun. Always love talking to Evil Dead. It's my favorite horror franchise. So it's great to be able to talk to you about this one because it was just, again, a fantastic movie. I think everybody should watch. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should go watch it because it's a lot of fun. All right. Thank you. And we'll obviously get you back sometime soon. Go check out her previous episode she did with me on the Final Destination, probably the worst of the Final Destination movies.
Yeah, this is a big step up in quality of films.
Right. Definitely 100%. But yeah, go check out that episode. It was a lot of fun. And get you on again sometime soon. And until then,
Definitely.
stay creepy. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.